The sun dips below the horizon earlier each day, casting long skeletal shadows across the living room floor as the air takes on a sharp, biting edge. You retreat into the sanctuary of heavy wool sweaters and steaming mugs of tea, perhaps dimming the lights to settle into a seasonal hibernation. Yet beside you, your silent companion remains unchanged in appearance. To the untrained eye, the domestic cat seems the ultimate master of winter stoicism. They do not shiver with the dramatic flair of a canine, nor do they vocalize their discomfort or plead for a higher setting on the thermostat. They simply adapt, retreating into a quiet, internal world of energy conservation that many owners mistake for peaceful contentment. This is the great winter deception, a period where 90% of even the most devoted caretakers unknowingly commit fundamental errors that strain the feline body and spirit. Because cats are biologically designed to mask vulnerability until the moment of physical collapse, the subtle damage to their joints, kidneys, and emotional well-being often goes unnoticed until the seasonal shift has already taken its toll. We must look past the fur and the purr to understand that for this apex predator, winter is not a cozy backdrop, but a physiological gauntlet. To truly understand why a drop in household temperature is more than a mere inconvenience, we must journey back to the golden sands of the Fertile Crescent. The domestic cat is, at its core, a desert-dwelling ghost, an evolutionary masterpiece refined in the intense heat of northern Africa and the Near East. For these creatures, warmth is not a luxury or a seasonal preference. It is a fundamental biological requirement for the maintenance of their high metabolic rate. While a human might feel refreshed by a crisp 60-degree room, a cat's body is already beginning to labor, working overtime to maintain its internal core temperature against the encroaching chill. Unlike us, they do not instinctively seek out a pile of blankets to burrow under. Instead, their physiology pivots toward a survival mode, where energy and water are hoarded with desperate efficiency. Veterinarians frequently observe a disturbing trend in winter blood panels. Cats living in homes where the heat is lowered at night frequently present with clinical markers of dehydration and kidney strain. While you are tucked safely beneath a heavy duvet, your cat remains exposed for hours to the cold air circulating near the floor, a constant stressor that saps the vitality from their limbs and thickens the very fluids that keep them alive. This environmental stress is felt most acutely by the sentinels of the household, the senior cats whose internal thermostats are no longer as resilient as they once were. As a cat ages, its ability to regulate body temperature naturally declines, turning a mildly chilly room into a source of chronic, systemic stress that stiffens arthritic joints and reduces circulation to vital organs. We often dismiss their winter lethargy as sleeping more, but in reality, they may be trapped in a cycle of cold-induced exhaustion. Providing a consistently warm sleeping sanctuary, particularly during the vulnerable hours of the night, is not merely an act of kindness. It is a critical intervention in their long-term health trajectory. Furthermore, we must be wary of the sun worship trap. In winter, the sun hangs lower in the sky, slicing through windows with an intense, direct glare that draws cats in like a moth to a flame. While the warmth is enticing, this low-angle light creates a physiological roller coaster. Cats will often hold themselves in cramped, uncomfortable positions for hours, just to stay within a moving patch of light, leading to muscle strain and the postponement of essential behaviors. They may ignore the urge to drink from their water bowl or avoid the trek to a cold litter box, sacrificing their basic needs for a few moments of solar heat. What looks like a peaceful nap in the sun is often a state of quiet strain, where the body's internal regulation is being stretched to its limits by the harsh transition from the burning sun patch to the freezing shadows of the room. Beyond the physical chill lies a more insidious threat: the invisible chemistry of the winter home. A dangerous myth persists among many owners that cats require less hydration during the colder months because they aren't panting in the heat. In reality, the opposite is true. Indoor heating acts as a massive dehumidifier, stripping moisture from the air and forcing cats to lose water constantly through their respiratory cycles and their highly sensitive paw pads. However, because cold temperatures naturally suppress the feline thirst reflex, your cat may be losing moisture faster than they feel the urge to replace it. This creates a state of chronic, low-level dehydration that thickens the urine and increases the workload on the kidneys. For male cats, whose anatomy makes them particularly susceptible to urinary blockages, this winter dehydration is often the primary trigger for life-threatening medical emergencies. We must combat this by breaking the one bowl rule, placing ceramic or glass water stations in multiple warm locations to encourage frequent sipping, and supplementing their diet with moisture-rich wet food to bypass their suppressed thirst. As the air dries out, it also becomes a conductor for a phenomenon that behaviorists now recognize as a significant source of feline psychological trauma: static electricity. To a human, a small zap is a minor annoyance. To a cat, whose nervous system is finely tuned to detect the slightest tactile vibration, a sudden static discharge can feel like a predatory strike. When a cat experiences repeated shocks from synthetic blankets, metal food bowls, or even the hand of their owner, it triggers a persistent fight or flight response. We begin to see cats who are suddenly skittish, who flinch when reached for, or who avoid their favorite resting spots because they have associated those areas with unpredictable pain. This isn't a change in personality, it is an environmental injury. By introducing humidifiers and switching to natural fiber bedding, we can discharge the tension in the air and restore the sense of physical safety that is essential for a cat to truly relax in your presence. While we seek to soothe the senses with the scents of the season, pine, cinnamon, and peppermint, we may be unknowingly poisoning the very air our cats breathe. The feline liver is a unique organ, lacking specific enzymes necessary to metabolize the phenols and compounds found in many essential oils and scented products. During winter, when ventilation is poor and windows remain sealed, these airborne chemicals settle into the cat's fur. Because cats are meticulous groomers, they ingest these toxins daily, leading to a slow, cumulative stress on their internal organs. The symptoms are rarely dramatic. Instead, you might notice a subtle drop in appetite, a slight lethargy, or a general dullness in their coat. By the time these issues manifest in blood work, the exposure has often been occurring for months. Protecting the feline internal sanctuary requires us to prioritize unscented environments and proper ventilation, acknowledging that what smells like a winter wonderland to us may feel like a toxic fog to them. Finally, we must address the cold floor crisis. Many owners move litter boxes to basements or mud rooms during the winter to hide odors. But this forces the cat to stand on freezing concrete or tile during their most vulnerable moments. The intense cold against their paw pads sends distressing sensory signals through their body, often leading them to hold their urine for dangerously long periods to avoid the discomfort of the trip. This behavior directly contributes to the urinary issues and accidents that spike during the winter months. A litter box in a warm, carpeted, and accessible location is not an aesthetic choice. It is a foundational pillar of preventative health care that respects the cat's physiological need for warmth and security. The final frontier of winter care lies in the preservation of the feline mind and the recognition of their subtle, whispered communication. As the days shorten, many owners fall into the trap of believing their cats have simply become lazy or hibernatory. This leads to a dangerous reduction in interactive play. Yet play is not merely physical exertion. It is essential emotional regulation for a predatory mind. Without the stimulation of the hunt, a cat's cognitive health begins to stagnate, leading to weight gain and a depressive state that masks the vibrant spirit within. We must also reconsider our reliance on heated beds. While they offer immediate comfort, a cat that remains tethered to a heat source all day may miss critical hydration cues and lose the muscle tone required for long-term mobility. A heated bed should be an optional port in the storm, not a permanent anchor that prevents the perimeter patrol and movement necessary for a healthy metabolism. True stewardship during these dark months requires a heightened sensitivity to the whispers of the cat. When they sleep slightly longer or move with a fraction more caution, they are not merely aging with the season. They are communicating a need for environmental adjustment. By integrating short, frequent play sessions that mimic natural hunting behaviors, we release the stress hormones that accumulate in a stagnant winter home and boost their confidence against the seasonal gloom. We must remember that our cats do not cry out for help when the chill reaches their bones or the dry air strains their kidneys. They simply lean further into their silence, trusting us to read the invisible language of their well-being. As the frost patterns bloom on the glass, we are reminded that the bond we share with our cats is a fragile yet devoted partnership. By acknowledging their desert-born instincts and protecting them from the silent stressors of winter, we honor the profound trust they place in us every day. Let us be the vigilant guardians of their warmth and spirit. If this journey into the feline heart has moved you, please like, subscribe, and share your cat's unique winter habits in the comments below.